ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ted Cruz, a.k.a. Fat Wolverine, a.k.a. George W. Bitch. Sorry. I don't understand how there's so many Texans out there that got this weird kind of set higher voice and stuff, and yet it's supposed to be the world of manliness, and they all sound like somebody trying to voice over a Napoleon Hill book. I don't understand it. Cancun Cruz, here he is, but he's mad, folks. He's pissed off. Okay, you know how I know? Cruz, I'm pissed at this part of the Trump indictment situation. Fucking way to hedge that shit. At this part of the Trump indictment, the only thing you're allowed to be pissed at, dumbass, is that they aren't indicting him for calling your wife ugly. Although I'm not entirely sure that in Texas there shouldn't be a law against letting a man get away with it. I thought you fuckers were macho or some shit. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Cancun Cruz. I'm pissed.
Earlier I spoke with Senator.
Oh, he's on Greta. This used to be Greg Kelly's slot. No pun, not her. I don't mean it that way. Stop it. Quit it. Put it down. All right. Get away from your desk. That's just not right. That's not what I meant, and you know it. This used to be his time slot. Fucking, that doesn't sound any better. Greg Kelly used to be on at this time of night when her show is on. God, fuck it. I quit. That's right. End of the show. I'm going. I'm done. I can't. Nope. I'm going. All right. I feel ashamed of myself. I'm not doing it. All right. I'm kidding. Hold on one second. I got to turn my lights back on. Sorry. I was just worried that sometimes if you're not careful, you might hit the kidney. But, be careful. Just, don't let that happen. All right. So, sorry, Greta, you were saying?
Judiciary Committee member, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. We talked about a lot, including Trump's.
Did she call him Texas Senator? It sounded like she said Texas Senator, not Senator. Normally, I don't like those kind of judgments, but I no malarkey detected.
4 indictments and his view on our national judicial system. I think it's pretty plain that half the country right now is pretty disenchanted. I think it's pretty plain that half the country right now.
I'm sorry, half the what?
System. I think it's pretty plain that half the country right now.
No. All right. So that's where we are. We're so divided as a country that we're splitting up the Cunties. Half the people who is marginally and vehemently. There's vociferously. There's multiple categories. There's what? Gee, I wonder which category Ted Cruz falls into.
Judicial system. I think it's pretty plain that half the country right now.
Easy. That's not. I mean, on so many fronts. Hold on. Where is it?
The biggest loser is the state with the shortest stick.
Yeah, but that's, sorry. I'm demonetized now. Now I'm fucked. CSL. Now we're screwed. Venmo. Everybody Venmo, because I'm definitely, this episode's not making us fucking cent. We've definitely crossed the swearing line with that one. Shit. So, yeah. I'm done. Please super chat, because now all my commercials just took a giant shit. My CPM just went. We clear 55K and now I ruin the algorithm. Great. Thanks, Greta.
Is pretty disenchanted with the judicial system and half the
disenchanted. That's the worst kind of. I can't say it.
Country is cheering it on. We have a former president facing 4 indictments, criminal indictments, 3 federal, 1
Yeah, but 91 charges. Can we say that number? It's much better.
2 federal, 2 state. What do you tell the American people as they look at this, and actually almost the world? They're watching our former president on trial.
Well, look, you and I both spent the majority of our careers practicing law.
I don't think so, dude. I think technically speaking, you've been a senator longer than you were an actual lawyer, if I'm not mistaken at this point. And I don't count just because you graduated.
And to see what is happening here, I think it is outrageous.
Oh, hey, we got another one. Outrageous. All right, so there's proof positive. Ted Cruz knows that the charges against Donald John Trump are, in fact, true. They are. Look at that. We got double the outrage today. Outrageous.
Pissed.
What? Wait, sorry.
See what is happening here. I think it is outrageous. I am pissed.
Oh. Well, I guess shut it down then. I mean, what chance does democracy have if Ted Cruz is pissed? If he gets miffed, I don't think there's any hope for one man, one vote as a concept. Hell.
Our nation is over 2 centuries old. We've gone over 2 centuries until this year.
Yeah, it took us that long to elect as big an asshole as Donald Trump.
We had never once had a president of the United States indicted. We'd never once had a former president of the United States indicted. We'd never once.
Yeah, we never had a sleazy fuckwad like Donald Trump elected president. And
once had a leading candidate for president indicted. And we've seen in the past year
leading in his own party, which is falling apart and does not have the votes to put somebody in federal office. So please continue.
That happened not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 separate times. It started out with the...
Yeah, it might be the advanced level of criminality that led us to this point. Maybe you should take the evidence of the 4 indictments as evidence of that he's the special case, not that the United States system needs to be looked at. Because we've never had this fucking problem until we had a fucker that you guys let steamroll you. Specifically, go tell Heidi this shit. I don't need to hear it.
Rabidly partisan district attorney in New York with a ridiculous indictment. It went from there to an indictment from...
His CFO is in jail. His chief financial officer is in jail. He and his son both pleaded the 5th 400 times in their deposition.
Jack Smith, the very partisan special counsel in the Biden Justice Department.
Tell me how he's partisan. What makes him partisan? Very partisan. If you're saying he's very partisan, that's not enough. If he donated, I don't give a fuck if he gave the maximum donation to Hillary Clinton. No. He's got to knock on fucking doors before he even qualifies as partisan, much less very partisan.
For Trump's possession of classified documents, mind you, at the exact same time that Joe Biden illegally had multiple classified documents stored all over the place.
For the record, Donald Trump is not being in any way, he was not indicted for his possession of said documents or being haphazard even to some degree with them. He is indicted for scheming to defraud the government and continue to keep documents he was no longer entitled to have. Unlike Pence and Biden, who the minute they knew they had them, turned them over and had the FBI do an independent search of the areas that they found stuff to make sure there was no other shit. That's the distinction. Where they say it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. It's not about having classified documents. It's about trying to keep them illegally. And if you have any question about how we know that he knew he didn't have the right to have these documents, was that he showed them to people who did not have clearance, and he's on tape saying that, and they returned documents in a red-weld envelope, meaning they were aware that they were classified and not that he had not declassified them. He was aware, they were aware, they did not make that case in court. They are still not making that case in court, that he had that declassification power. He never will. No one ever should. That's fucking lunacy. And if he did, if that's the argument, then every document Biden took with him out of the White House, because Obama gave him the exact same rights for classification and declassification that the president had as vice president, then there is no criminality. I don't want to fucking hear it.
Including in the garage next to his old Corvette. No prosecution, no consistent standard of justice there.
No, there's a consistent standard of justice. Again, finding them, not intentionally taking them and returning them once they're found is not the same as trying to steal it. If you pick up someone else's suitcase and it has their life savings in it, and you get home and you go, oh my fucking God, where are my underwear? And you bring it back, you didn't steal their life savings. You mistook their bag for yours. You are not going to go to jail for stealing someone's life savings. Unless you're, I guess, in the Big Lebowski or something. That's The Ringer.
Number 3 was Jack Smith's indictment in D.C. for the events of January 6th, another partisan indictment. And the most recent...
Well, it had to be a partisan indictment because there were no Democrats that attacked the fucking Capitol that day, dumbass.
...is this rogue DA...
Why were no Democrats arrested for trying to hang Nancy Pelosi or arranging for someone who wanted to hang Nancy Pelosi to barge in and take a shit in the rotunda?
In Georgia, an elected Democrat. All 4 of these indictments, I believe, are an abuse of the legal process. They are the...
Yeah, I don't care what you believe. He will get his day in court. He has due process. This is lame. You also believe that he was right about your wife.
Weaponization of law enforcement, trying to attack the political opponents of the White House. And I think it is profoundly harmful.
It's profound caramel
to the rule of law.
Well, there's a special counsel has now been appointed, David Weiss. He was the U.S. attorney to investigate Hunter Biden by the Attorney General. Frankly, I thought a special counsel should be appointed. I think that David Weiss is the wrong one in light of the fact that he had that aborted plea deal, that is blown up all over every place.
I thought the plea deal, well, never mind.
A, should there be a special counsel? And 2, is he the right man to do it in light of...
Haven't you already asked and answered? You both don't think so.
Sort of in light of the track record leading up to this.
So absolutely there should be a special counsel. There should have been a special counsel 2.5 years ago. David Weiss.
Why? If anything, by the way, look, I don't mind there's a special counsel. I don't care that Weiss did it. I don't care if they put somebody else on it. It's going to come to the same conclusion I've shown you guys. We've dug as far as there is to dig in this shit. But a special counsel around whether or not Hunter Biden was given a sweetheart deal or something is less about that person. And maybe the idea is that if a politician arranged for him to get that sweetheart deal, then the special counsel should be looking into who may have arranged that. Well, Weiss is the person who allegedly did it. So their fear is, I guess, he's investigating himself. Anyways, like I said, we've dealt with all of this shit. None of the stuff from the alleged laptop is going to reach a courtroom, and these people are going to be pissed forever.
Is a terrible decision, and it was an abuse of power for Merrick Garland to name David Weiss. As you know, I do a podcast every week. I do it 3 days a week. It's called Verdict with Ted Cruz. It comes out every Monday, Wednesday.
Ugh. Yeah. Obviously, it's not like, senatoring is hard work.
Wednesday and Friday. And
so that's why you haven't, I guess, introduced a bill of your own making. Thank you, Kathy. Introduced a bill of your own that you've written yourself for fucking ever.
In the podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, we do a deep dive into the issues of the day, into what's...
Oh, God, it's a fucking ad. Skip to the end. Man and wife.
The legal appointment of David Weiss. Under the Department of Justice rules, the Attorney General can only appoint as a special counsel someone from outside the Department of Justice. The reason is you appoint a special counsel when...
No, it's outside the U.S. government, but again, he's the state liaison.
There's a conflict.
He might be overseen by it, but he's not run by it. They have independence. That's that whole state rights thing.
Of interest when there's a reason to believe that the Attorney General has divided political loyalties, as is the case here. And here, I don't even think it's divided. He is nakedly partisan. David Weiss is the sitting U.S. Attorney in Delaware. He's ineligible under the DOJ rules. So why did Merrick Garland appoint him? The reason
because he's already looked into this, and it will speed things along. And if they start from scratch, it's just going to be another Durham report over again, where these lunatics get their hopes up and then they're dashed.
The reason Merrick Garland appointed him is David Weiss has already demonstrated that he is very willing to actively cover up Hunter Biden's wrongdoings. And even
How does he cover up his wrongdoings? It's all on the internet, all of it. All of it.
even more importantly,
It's like saying they're blackmailing Hunter Biden with pictures of him smoking in the bathtub, covering his nipples.
protect Joe Biden. David Weiss is subject to not one, but two career IRS employees who come forward as whistleblowers saying that David Weiss and Merrick Garland were part of covering up wrongdoing, that Merrick Garland lied under oath to Congress, actually in response to my questioning. That is a felony. And that David Weiss and Merrick Garland.
No, he didn't. They say this a bunch of times, and it has to do with whether or not Weiss had the right, he had the latitude to look into whatever he wants, and that was effectively the question he was asking. And Merrick Garland said, "I didn't tell him not to look anywhere." Essentially, he had all the, he had all the reach he wanted. The only difference was, we've dealt with this. That didn't even turn out to be true. Like, I guess he's still hammering this. We covered this months ago.
Justice blocking the investigation into Hunter, and more significantly, putting off limits any investigation into Joe Biden and whether he solicited and received.
Oh, I see. This goes to that the whistleblowers. What they were saying is that they said they couldn't bring up stuff about the big guy, and the reason that was shut down. And again, this is Greta. If there's anything left in her, she could bring this up. But any reference to the big guy comes from the fake emails on the fake laptop that's online and that kind of stuff. And none of that stuff can be the predicate for an investigation inside the IRS or anywhere else. If they find some shit on their own, especially the IRS, because they have actual documentation, they can look at that. And in that actual documentation, they can go, hey, there's money showing up here, or property owned here that wasn't paid for. So where did he get the money to pay for this? And how does he do this on his salary? Or where did this money come from? And blah, blah, blah. If they can, they're allowed to do that. But if they reach out and go, what about this stuff about the big guy? The minute they introduce that, then Hunter Biden's defense is, and this is super fucking easy, is, Your Honor, they got this from these unverified emails that were on the internet. We do not claim them. They cannot prove they are from us or are real at all and verify the contents of them, or that they have not been manipulated. And they are also, there are other emails that could have been shown that are gone, or blah, blah, blah. So we don't cop to any of it, and it's not the entire picture, and they got it off the internet. So anything from that, and it was handled by Rudy Giuliani, who's an opponent, blah, 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 the fruit of the poison tree. Any ideas they got out of that led them anywhere, that led them to the trunk of my car, is an unlawful search. Therefore, it's thrown out. And any fucking judge in the entire country is going to go, yep, clack, see you later. That's how you know Ted Cruz. That's why he doesn't practice, quote unquote, practice law anymore. That's why he's a fucking useless Texas senator who does a podcast 3 days a week. While children have frozen to death in his fucking state, this asshole's doing a podcast 3 days a week. He ran for Senate so he could just hear his own fucking voice, which is painfully nasally.
Merrick Garland put him in that job precisely because he's willing to protect Joe Biden, and that profoundly corrupts the integrity of the Department of Justice.
Gibberish.
What sort of interest is, by virtue of that CFR that...
Oh, Elmac, my blood pressure is fine. I'm fine. I'm not saying this is performative anger, but I enjoy myself. I like getting wound up a little bit, but trust me, I'm in a good space.
You noted that it shouldn't be...
There's nothing about this dude that can actually wind me up. I just fucking hate him. He's gross.
government employee who's appointed special counsel. The irony of it is that the only person who could sort of object to that, to have what we call standing in the law, seems to me to be the defendant himself. I mean, I don't think that no matter what anybody else says, I don't see any other way that David Weiss is replaced with someone who doesn't have that background on the case.
Yeah, look, I think that's right, and the DOJ guidelines also provide that the Attorney General's decision is not reviewable in court. And so Merrick Garland knows that he's not going to be held to account, that he can ignore.
If it's not reviewable in court, then it's not illegal. It's a guideline. And you can look outside the guideline if you think it's expedient or will get you to the truth quicker. What a bunch of shit.
For the law, and there's no consequences. And I have to say, it is sad, Greta.
You don't have to, but I'm glad you do.
You know, when Merrick Garland was appointed Attorney General, he had spent 24 years as a federal judge. He had built a reputation for being relatively nonpartisan, and I had some glimmer of hope that he would actually do the job with integrity. That hope has been utterly crushed.
Yeah, but
I have to say, he is the most partisan Attorney General we've ever seen.
I thought, though, it was wrong. I'm sure you're going to disagree with me that the Republicans didn't give him a hearing when he was appointed pursuant to the Constitution by President Obama, and the Republicans wouldn't give him a hearing 8 months out before the election. Yeah, we're so willing to do the reverse for the justice when it was a Trump appointee a month before. So, you know, the Republicans don't have clean hands, as they say in the law, on this issue.
So with respect, Greta, I think that's completely incorrect. I think what you are describing there is the operation of the Constitution and checks and balances. For 80 years, whenever there was a vacancy in the Supreme Court that occurred during a presidential year, and the Senate was in the hands of the opposite political party, for 80 years, the Senate has said, no, we will not fill this vacancy. The voters will decide. That's what happened.
Yeah, but you waited past that line.
Happened with Merrick.
No, it wasn't.
Garland. Justice Scalia died in January of 2016 in the middle of the presidential race. I called that day for keeping that seat open because I said, the stakes are too high, let the voters decide. The voters did decide. In contrast, the same precedent is there for 80 years that when there's a vacancy that occurs in a presidential year and the Senate is...
This sounds like they're worrying about Clarence Thomas.
...in the hands of the same political party as the president, that the Senate will confirm that nominee, and that has happened consistently. And there's a reason. In 2014, we had a vigorous campaign for Senate. I campaigned for Senate candidates all over the country, and one of the front and center issues that we campaigned on to the voters is, give us a Republican Senate so we can prevent a judicial activist from undermining your constitutional rights of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but that's because you're always going to run on that. You're always going to run on keeping commies off the fucking bench. That's not time sensitive. You always say that, dumb fuck.
Supreme Court. And the voters elected a Republican Senate. That Republican Senate was expected to honor our oaths. And so what you're complaining...
No, that Republican Senate was expected to deny Obama the ability to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg if she died.
...about is the operation of the Constitution and checks and balances. I think that's the way the Constitution is meant to operate.
You know,
which is why you have no shot at being president.
Respectfully look at it differently, but I get your point.
I get your point. You piece of shit.